Joining me now is someone who knows Zelenskyy very well, his former press secretary, Luliia Mendel. Luliia, thank you for joining us. A long time we've known each other. We've never, ever been able to do some television together. But I wanted to bring you on to talk about Zelenskyy and what the world is seeing now. I find it very inspiring to see a leader go to the TV cameras risking his own life. Because remember, when you broadcast something, and he's doing this live, there's actually an opportunity for Putin and the Russian army to find out where he is. Tell us about the man Zelenskyy, if you would.
Thank you, Eric, for having me here. Actually, Ukrainians today are feeling blessed to have such a leader standing for them, and the respect towards President Zelenskyy is rising around the country. 93% of Ukrainians believe that Zelenskyy is doing the correct thing while defending the country, and 80% of Ukrainians believe that Ukraine will win the battle for our own land. To be frank, we noticed that there was some simplification of the image of President Vladimir Zelenskyy in the media, because he was known as a comedian, and this is the most popular public image that he used to have. But Vladimir Zelenskyy also has a legal background, and he is the lawyer who was studying constitutional law. That's why he knows a lot how politics operates. And also, what is not maybe so much noticeable, but he is a very successful self-made businessman. He built the empire of humor that was popular not only in Ukraine, but actually all around post-Soviet space. In July 2019, the New York Times wrote the first article where they said, the authors of this article said that President Volodymyr Zelenskyy was a threat to Vladimir Putin, because when Zelenskyy came to power, he showed such a record democratic election that doesn't exist anywhere in post-Soviet space. And this democracy is really a threat to this dictator who has some problems in his head.
So let me talk about that dictator who has some problems in his head. Vladimir Putin has said that he's looking to take over Ukraine and replace the Zelenskyy government, and replace the Zelenskyy government with Viktor Yanukovych. Now, Viktor Yanukovych was a former president or prime minister of Ukraine. What are your thoughts of this whole mess going on back and forth?
Oh, that's the story, actually. That's the story when Ukraine became on the covers of every newspaper and in the biggest news all over the world for the first time back in 2014. Actually, that was the president of the country, and that is the symbol of corruption today in Ukraine. And Ukrainians didn't want him to rule our country. Also, he wanted to return the direction of Ukrainians who wanted to join the West to Russia, back to Russia. He was under control of Vladimir Putin, and Ukrainians went out to have one of the biggest revolutions here in post-Soviet space. Over 100 Ukrainians sacrificed their life to get rid of Yanukovych, and there is no any chance that this person can stay in power even for 24 hours in our country if there is any other power that would be able to put him ruling this country. Yanukovych fled the country, taking a lot of our money, and since then we were reconstructing our governmental system. We built very good anti-corruption architecture, and we made so many reforms aligning our country's system to the Western system that is not possible right now to be under Russia and to have any kind of similarity to the USSR system anymore.
Luliia, I have about a minute or so left, and I have one more question to ask you. The President Putin has said that you are extreme gangsters is why he's going into Ukraine to bring Ukraine back to Russia. And he's also said they literally are threatening to have public executions so that Ukrainians stop fighting. Will either one of those work?
Ukraine already saw public executions, let's say, the same revolution that I mentioned on 2014, and over 100 Ukrainians sacrificed their lives. We are standing here, and there are some of defending our country. Everybody mentions that there are a lot of Ukrainians who fled the country, but we do not mention that there are over 100,000 of Ukrainians who came back to our country just right now because they want to defend Ukraine. And I see that we have a lot of victories too. So you must understand that this is the country that is proud to have its independence. And I don't think that we will ever see the concentration camps. But this is exactly for our Western partners and for all the civilized world to help Ukraine now manage this situation, this war. And we are begging to have no-fly zone because, as you have mentioned, the appetites of Putin are huge and he is not going to stop on Ukraine.
Final thought, send the message to Vladimir Putin from someone who used to be the comms director for Vladimir Zelenskyy. Comms person right to Putin, what would you say to him?
Just leave our country. Leave our country and build yours. We don't need Russia here. We don't need the USSR. You're the worst person in the world. No one deserves having such a leader, and no one deserves having such a neighbor as Russia.
There we go. We're going to leave it right there. Luliia, Mendel, please stay safe. Please take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.